Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chelsea. I like to talk about spooky stuffs and scams but mostly scams, let's be real. Didn't feel like putting my makeup on today, but I found this video update on, the Tranzact card because that's what I'm just like really love talking about lately. Um, but it's literally like it was just uploaded a couple days ago, and this is last day of January as of recording this. And I know they were allegedly everybody was supposed to have the cards by like today or tomorrow or something. I don't know when people are saying, cards are going out the 31st. So does that mean they're getting them the first week? Whatever. Anyways, we've been anticipating this update. And so I found a video of it and I did a little like fast forwarding just to kind of get a sneak peek to see what we were in for. And this guy starts drawing a picture and you can't really tell what's going on. So anyways, let's see if we can figure it out by watching it together or if it inevitably is still the scam that I think it is. So let's get started watching this one. Oh, also, it's like a really long video. It's like almost an hour long. So I'm gonna like have it be like on fast or whatever. I'm gonna like times it by 1.5 or whatever, just so that way we can get through it faster.
My purpose is that this sort of be the last of my dialogue about the challenges and the changes and the so on and so on. And it's time to go to work and make money. The exact reality is that I know many of you need to make money right now. And so what I want to do is help you understand what the things are that we can and should be doing at this moment in time. I believe that we should not be focusing on talking about, thinking about, or considering things that are not, but we should be focusing on things that are today so that we can get the income wheel turning. And so what I want to do is go back and describe.
So you don't want to focus on the fact that nobody has cards and how you're going to make money. So how are we going to make money without the cards? Besides it being like a complete pyramid scheme, in my opinion.
The value proposition that I said yes to at the very outset, and then compare that value proposition to where we find ourselves today, and then talk about some very specific business building that I have. And whoops, I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody once more. I'm not sure. We got a couple that are not mute all. Okay. There we go. So when I first saw Tranzact card, on June 15th of last year.
There's no sound here.
Oops. Yeah, we got sound. Can everybody else can hear me, right? So Darren, whatever the problem is, yeah, we have sound elsewhere. Okay. And so anyone who does not, let me just type that in there. If you don't have sound, if no sound, it is on your end. Log off and back in or restart computer. Okay, sorry about that, folks. So on June 15th of 2023, when I saw this company, what was I looking for? What I was looking for, well, what was the value proposition that I bargained for? Let's say that. The value proposition that I bargained for was that when I swipe a card, that I would receive, in addition.
Let's just kicking right off at the beginning. He's over here trying to tell people that he wanted to make money, and let's get to the nitty gritty. Let's get to the making money part of a company that he joined over 6 months ago now at this point, and still hasn't been given what was guaranteed. It seems like that's what he's about to say, right? So let's see where he goes. Excuse me. Let's see where he goes with the photo.
As a result of doing that card swipe, that I would get the item that I negotiated for, and that I would also get an equal offsetting balance in Z-Bucks. Okay, that was the first value proposition that I bargained for. When I joined this company, that value proposition was already being met. At that point in time, the relationship was solid, existed. At that point in time, new cards were being mailed to each new member within a matter of days after the time that they enrolled. And so when I first enrolled in this company, the first value proposition being that when I swipe a card, that I would receive not just the item that I negotiated for, but that I would also receive Z-Bucks. That value proposition was in existence from the date of my first enrollment up until about the 24th or 5th day of September, I think it was. On that date, the relationship was solid, was severed. And on that date going forward, or from September 29th, it seems like, from that day going forward, the value proposition of swiping the card and receiving Z-Bucks as a result, in addition to acquiring the item, that value proposition has not been in existence. Starting on November 1st, that value proposition is again in existence, and it's in existence at a much higher level than what I originally bargained for. Why is that true? That is true as a result of the Evermore system. With the Evermore system, here's what.
Okay, so it wasn't available, and then it was available, and now it's not available again. This is just like way too much for me. Like, I'm just kind of surprised that like with all of this like up and down and back and forth, that there are still people out there, like even like today, saying, trying to get other people to join or, get a card or whatever. It just kind of like blows my mind that people are still so willing to jump in on this when like there's nothing even going on and it's been shut down like twice, according to what this guy's saying.
Occurs starting on the very first day of February. We can link a card, any card in your wallet or in your purse, to the Tranzact card ecosystem. You'll begin receiving immediately one Z-Buck for every dollar that is transacted on whatever card you choose. Over the course of the next 30 or so days, that Evermore program will allow you to add as many cards as you want. And so in the beginning, you'll be able to add one card. In the coming few days, not too long thereafter, you'll be able to add all the cards that you want. And so the original value proposition that I had, that I would swipe a card and that I would get the item that I bargained for, and I would get Z-Bucks, that value proposition was in existence for me from June 15th until about September 25th or 26th. It has not been in existence for me or for you from that day until February 1st. On February 1st, it is once again, that value proposition is again met. And I promise not something I think. On that day, the value proposition is met, but it's met in greater fashion than was even bargained for up here. Why do I say that?
So, well, let's see if tomorrow this is true, but allegedly, still, as of January 31st, tomorrow the cards will be a thing. But I feel like when you said the cards are available February 1st, like, are they going to get like overnighted to everybody, or are they still going to have to wait? I don't know. And before the thing where he said like you could just like connect it to a card so you could still get your Z-Bucks by like swiping your own card, like, I don't know, man, that's kind of sketchy because I wouldn't trust like typing in my credit card information to, I mean, I don't like doing that anyways, unless I'm literally purchasing something, but like this isn't something to be purchased. So this is just so you can get the Z-Bucks and participate in your flash sales. What it appears to be right now is only flash sales. And I know like a few people, Roberta Blevins, CC Suarez, have seen the back office, and it has like, or the Z Club, whatever, and it has like all the My Pillow stuff and then like some other things, but it's still very limited. And in my last video, it still says it changed to sunglasses instead of Ray-Bans because they definitely don't have these high-end things that they're saying they're supposed to get in this Z Club thing. So, all right, anyways, back to the video.
I say that because the Transact cards themselves, as we all know, are debit cards. If any of you choose to know some uncomfortable facts in America, do a quick Google search and just ask what percentage of Americans currently carry credit card debt. You'll see that 61% of all people in the United States of America carry credit card debt month after month after month. Those 61% of people are not using debit cards for their daily purchases. They're unfortunately having to float that credit card debt. They make the payment they can make on the card and then use the credit card because that's what they have. They have access to credit. They don't have access to cash. 61% of our entire society would not be using our ecosystem tied to the Transact card debit card. That is why the Evermore program, while it's been incorrectly viewed by some people as a stopgap in the absence of the debit cards, that is not the truth. The Evermore program has always been a planned, included part of the ecosystem because 61% of people in America, unfortunately, and we hope to help with this, the 61% of people in America are not swiping debit cards on a regular basis, while the average is $3,100. 61% of people in America are carrying credit card debt. And so, Anthony, if you're carrying credit card debt, you don't have cash in an account that you're using on a debit card. It doesn't make it.
What is he talking about when he says Evermore program? Is that like this, like the Transact card program? Is he calling it the Evermore program? Or did I just like completely miss something? I don't know. More confusion, just to add on to the confusion, just like in my last couple of videos about this.
Cents. You want to take that cash and pay off the interest on the credit card. Isn't that right? And so what this does is give us the original bargain for value proposition. It gives us that value proposition plus, plus, plus. Now, does that mean that I don't want the Transact card? Of course not. I believe in identifying what is it that is most appropriate, what's most effective, what's most beneficial, and what are our advantages right now. Human nature is that so frequently people tend to focus on that which we do not have and focus on disadvantages. That leads to no positive outcome. And so now when I think of the very first value proposition, is it met today at this hour, right now, on the 24th or 25th day of January, is that value proposition met? No, as of Thursday, January 25, that value proposition is not met. You have my personal pledge and promise that on February 1st, 2024, that value proposition will be met, and it will be met not just with the percentage of people who use debit cards frequently, but it will be met with all those people who are using credit cards as well. All right, now, that was the very first value proposition. What was the second value proposition that I bargained for? That as a result of swiping the card to buy my sparkling water, I would then have a digital currency which would have value in the e-commerce site, which we call the Z Club. Now, all of you know, if you don't really know me and understand me, you could think that sometimes I'm harshly critical. I'm not harshly critical. I just don't pretend things are great if they're not great. I call things what they are, and I allow each person to decide how you want to view that. My role is not to be a cheerleader. My role is to deliver facts and then show you how to put those facts into the greatest possible use for yourself. And so the absolute truth is that the e-commerce site, the Z Club, well, I've been happy to see some of the people's positive reports of getting travel bargains, and I've been happy to see the people that receive the flash sale.
Okay, I'm really gonna pause it though. I just wanted to like highlight what this guy said. I love that because it's like that's what we're doing here as quote unquote haters on the internet. We're just here to give people facts and information that we're finding. And again, I mean, you can take from it what you will, but we take the facts, we form opinions, we let y'all know, and but he's about to get into the Z Club, so sorry. I know I've like, yeah, let me go see.
And I myself have participated in a couple of flash sales. But this is the honest truth. The Z Club, from the date that I enrolled up through, including today, has for me not only not been something I'm excited about, it is something that I have been embarrassed about, and I remain embarrassed about at this hour. Okay, that is the truth. And so is the Z Club value proposition, is that being met today? No, that is not being met today, and I can tell you that will not be met on February 1st. I believe that by February 15th, those people, there's a percentage of people on this session and in life who, if you look at this glass, I don't know if you can tell, but there's a liquid level. I'm one of those guys where this glass is clearly less than half full. I'm one of those guys that sees the opportunity in whatever is there, and I don't concern myself too much with what is not there. For those people who are glass half empty people, then, by the way, I'm not critical of that. We all have different risk-reward parameters. We have different ways of evaluating the same situations. That's not a negative thing when I say the glass is a half-empty person. This world needs folks who are pragmatic.
But isn't that the whole like other half of it, and the reason that people would sign up for this is he's all like, oh yeah, well, it's not met yet, and I'm only going to focus on what we can do versus what we can't do, and we don't have the Z Club store yet or whatever is what he's saying. And so it's like, then what's the point of the first half of it, where when you're using this card or getting the gift cards and doing, and like, or being rewarded with these Z bucks every month to get you to stay, if you can't use them yet? Like, and it seems like that it's opened up before and then like it hasn't, or it's only opening up for flash sales or something, and that's like what you can get through it. But the full like promise of like a store where you can buy luxury products is still not being fulfilled. And for me, that would be like a big selling point, is it, like, of getting the Z bucks. Like, yeah, give me some free money to spend on stuff I actually want, but it's stuff that nobody wants or has access to.
Who are cautious, who are maybe more critical in their thinking, as opposed to the raw, unvarnished entrepreneurship of a guy who would look at this and say, well, who cares how full the glass is? There's enough there for me to drink. Right? And so we're all a little bit different as the way that we relate to these things. I believe that the glass will be full enough for people who are entrepreneurial like me, or even half as entrepreneurial as me. The glass will be full enough to give people satisfaction that promise is being met by the 15th of February. Now, I did not just say the glass is going to be clear full. What I said was there'll be enough in the glass to cause a person who has my optimistic attitude and demeanor to say there's plenty there for me to utilize those Z-Bucks and have.
So there will be things on the 15th, but it's still not going to be what they promised. So we'll see how that goes. Anybody that's like involved with this that can, kind of show me what's going on, please let me know, because I'd really like to see the Z-Box store, especially after the 15th, where it's allegedly going to be much better, even though it's still not going to be what they promised. I'm curious, like, what he thinks, what's going to be enough for him, and if this is going to be enough pull to continue growing this business.
Value. For the person who looks at this glass and says, Randy, you're nuts, it's less than half full. Anybody saying that's great? I didn't say it was more than half full. I said there's enough in it for me to drink. I said there's enough in it for you to drink if you want to drink. Not describing how full it is or is not. I would say that by March 15th, in all likelihood, and by April 15th, in great probability, those people who look at this glass and seeing it as being less than half full will see by then there is value in the Z Club. That's my deepest belief and conviction. This is not smoke and mirrors, and it's not hype, and it's not me repeating something that I heard from somebody else and didn't validate. I've spent a considerable amount of time with the new team who has been hired to run the Z Club store. I'm very.
Then why bother joining now and like taking that risk and seeing, and rather than just like waiting until then, because he's saying March or April, and with the way it's been going, everything keeps getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. So I feel like it's going to get pushed back beyond April, even though he's saying this, is what he's hoping for. I don't think it's going to happen in April. Could be wrong, but just in my opinion, based on how this has gone so far, I don't think it's going to be completely launched by April, and I don't even know that it will be completely launched in February when he's saying it'll be a little bit better. I don't know. I personally have a hard time believing that based on this company's like history over the last year. History of not launching.
With the portfolio of products and services that they have to offer, and I'm very aware of what the integration promise or what the integration processes are, and I'm completely, absolutely comfortable with the things that I just said. The first value proposition, that we swipe a card, and as a result of swiping the card, that we then receive the item we bargained for, plus we get Z-Bucks. That value proposition, I am 100% absolutely, completely satisfied and confident will be being met more fully than any of us originally bargained for on February 1st. Second value proposition, that the Z Club, because now we're utilizing the card, and for the interim period of time, the cards will be swiping, will be what? Cards already in our wallet that we have linked through the Evermore system, to our Evermore program, to our ecosystem.
Oh, okay.
The second value proposition, this Z Club, here's the way that's going to be. Those of you who have my attitude and demeanor and generally encourage positive, optimistic attitude, and those.
I got my question answered. The Evermore is just like, sounds like the system that they use to connect to your bank. Anyways, yeah, sorry. Okay.
Who realize that opportunity is found in moments of challenge as opposed to opportunity being found in moments of ease. For those people who share my demeanor, I would say that by February 15th, by 2:15, the Z Club certainly, it will not be an embarrassment to anybody. It will not. By 3:15, the Z Club will not be an embarrassment to anybody. I'm telling you all, you're going to have to wrap your arms around the idea that this is going to be an ongoing development, and that if one has patience, you'll be able to find something in the Z Club that gives you value for your Z Bucks from 2:15 onward, and that it'll be relatively easy to find things that you want to spend your Z Bucks on from 3:15 onward, and that by June 15th, you probably won't feel a lot of need to go to any other shopping sites. So this value proposition, this comes together for us in 5 days.
That is quite the proposition, sir, that by June you won't have to go shopping anywhere else. So that means they're finally going to be, this guy's hoping, anyways, that they'll actually be giving things of value, like things that people will use the Z Bucks on. So we'll see if that becomes a thing. It's only January, so we'll keep updated on this because this will keep us entertained for the majority of the year, right?
This value proposition comes together for us, I would say, at about a 50% level on February 15th, at about a 75% level on March 15th. And then it is going to take whatever amount of time it takes to fill this out until, and I can't tell you what the dates will be. I don't know, but I can tell you that I have confidence that the day will come when Wayfair, Farfetch, and even sites like Amazon Prime will be not dramatically dissimilar from what we offer. I can also tell you that from February 15th on, that there will not be a time when you log on and say, but there's no value here. It won't just be increased items, but value in the items that can be bought down with the Z-Bucks. Value proposition number one. Value proposition number two. What was the third value proposition that we had? The third value proposition that we had was that, and by the way, this not in any order that the company delivered them to me, and you may have viewed them differently in terms of order. What was the third value proposition?
Also, I think it's interesting too that like the Z Bucks, it doesn't seem like you can use 100% of them to buy things for free except for the flash sales. He's saying that they can be like bought down, but I don't know, that seems kind of silly to me. Like if you have enough Z Bucks to cover the whole thing that translates into cash, like why wouldn't you be able to purchase the whole thing? Perhaps I'm misunderstanding, but the way he's saying it and the way I've seen things, unless it's a flash sale and you're getting it for free, and a lot of the for free stuff seems to be like pens and Tranzact card gear, which I also think is kind of funny. But like, why wouldn't you be able to, if it's supposed to be dollar for dollar rewards, why wouldn't you be able to purchase the entire thing, not just buy it down with your Z Bucks? Just a question. Just saying. Seems kind of silly to me, because then you inevitably are still spending more cash on things, even though you have enough Z Bucks that are supposed to be worth dollar for, yeah, you get it. You get it, right? It just seems weird in my opinion.
That we had. Well, those of us, when I enrolled on June 15th, the third value proposition that I had was that I would spend $495. As a result of that expenditure, that would cause me to become a digital branch office. I was then licensing the technology, and I would have the opportunity to share that possibility with other people. And the value proposition was what? That if I went out and enrolled 3 people, that I would then receive a $495 rebate. Now, that would not be income, but that would be a return of capital. Now, I will be very specific here in that I will not violate the terms of my non-disclosure agreement. I will wander up to the very edge of the things that I can say within that agreement, but I will not say anything that is outside of that agreement. And so I have here an inability to say very much about this value proposition. Remember that when I enrolled, the value proposition was that I would spend $495, I would become a digital branch office, that when I enrolled 3 people, I would receive a rebate of my $495. Now, to stay directly inside my non-disclosure agreement, I'm not going to tell you anything at all about what has been done, what will be introduced on February 1st to replace this value proposition. Going back to about November, at that time, that
Wait, he's not going to tell us anything that has been done to replace that proposition that was given to him, but it sounds like he didn't get that rebate. Am I misunderstanding this? He's really covering his butt, making sure he doesn't say anything wrong, which I do appreciate. I mean, it's very smart to do it that way. But if I'm understanding him correctly, like he's basically just saying everything that's been proposed to him when he signed up has not been given to him. So with that information alone, are you interested in the Tranzact card? Because I'm not. It just says scam written all over it, in my opinion. It's just this like, still doesn't seem right. It just still doesn't seem right.
rebate was always described as a promotion. And so if one enrolled in Tranzact card yesterday and spent $495, if they enroll 3 people in the next 3 days, they're not going to get their $495 back. That was a promotion. That rebate no longer exists as we speak today. Now, there is a risk when I tell you that something will be introduced shortly that replaces that. There's a
Okay, he's calling it a promotion for when he joined. Okay. We'll let that go, I guess, if that's what he was promised. Okay.
He goes, well, I'm going to wait, folks. I measured whether or not it was smart to tell you about this, because if one person says I should wait to act because of what Randy said, that is a 100% guarantee that person does not know or understand me. I would never say to wait, ever. And I promise you that what is introduced here will not make you unhappy if you enrolled prior. This is a good company that does the right things for the right reasons. If there are advantages, not just if, there will be advantages in this value proposition, I promise you that someone who enrolls before it is introduced is not going to be upset by it. They're going to be enthused by it. I cannot go any further into that discussion without violating the terms of my agreement, which I will not do, and which I know none of you would want me to do. So value proposition 1, 100% met as of June 1. Value proposition 2, partially met by June 5th or by February 15th, partially met by March 15th, and then over the next number of months will someday, one day be fully met. And I'm not putting a timeline on that because, Anthony, there's no limit to how big it can get, right? I mean, Amazon Prime continues to add items. And so there's no such thing as we arrived. That's not the truth. It will feel to some like we've arrived when you log on and there's a value proposition there for your Z-Bucks in your account that you can get value for. And so in each case, you'll feel like we've arrived, but there's something there that matters to you. But it's not like all of a sudden I'm going to say, okay, ring the bell. This one is done. This will never be done. This will be ongoing, never ending, and forever. Now, let's talk about something that was not anticipated and that was not a positive experience early on. When I enrolled in the company, I received that Tranzact card itself. And I've not had that Tranzact card since, as I described, about September 26th, I think was the day when that card hasn't been there. I refuse to throw anyone under the bus. I mean, that's pointless. If I find fault with anybody for anything, it is me that I find.
And maybe he'll say this. So then when he was talking about how it got cut off on September, he mentioned that earlier and he's saying it again, but then it was like relaunched in November. Was that just like the Evermore thing where like you could just link your bank account and get the Z-Bucks that way? Or like, what was that? Like, was that even like a thing? Or again, am I just like completely confused and misunderstanding everything that anybody has ever said about this? Because I just feel like there's so much back and forth. Again, just like we talked about in the other videos, I don't know. All right, but okay, I'll stop cutting him off. Let's go see what he wants to say.
With for not asking hard enough questions at the outset. When I first looked at this company, to give you folks all some clarity as to what exactly has gone on, when I first looked at this company, I was told that the company had relationships with 12 community banks. That was very specific. We have a relationship with 12 community banks. In the very most aggressive way of contemplating what is true, maybe in the very most aggressive way, you could find a way to say that was true. Here is the exact fact. The fact is that our company had a relationship with one intermediary company called a program manager, a company like Tranzact Card or any new company. Anthony, if you and I opened Randy and Anthony's store, Randy and Anthony's business, and we wanted to issue a debit card or a credit card that was the Randy and Anthony Visa card, we could only do that if we have a BIN, what's called a banking identification number. And if we don't have a BIN, then we would need to contract with an intermediary company that stands between our company and the card issuer itself, that stands between us and Evolve Bank and Trust or whoever the member bank is. Well, as it turns out, the raw, unvarnished truth is that our company did not have a relationship with any banks. Our company had a relationship with one intermediary called Solid. That one intermediary had relationships with 12 community banks. When our relationship with Solid went sideways, and by the way, even with Solid, there was only one of their 12 community banks that ships with 12 community banks. When our relationship with Solid went.
So if you would please still join this company that's been started with nothing but lies, I would love it if you did. That's what he's saying to me. Like, that's in my head, that's what that translates to. I mean, you guys, what do you think?
Sideways. And by the way, even with Solid, there was only one of their 12 community banks that had agreed to participate in our program. And so when I rolled out my own initiative, and I mean, when I do something, I do it. I do it as big and as fast. I don't know. I can't do it bigger and faster than I do it. I either do it or I don't. And so when I rolled this out to a very, very eager audience, an audience of people who know me, trust me, respect me, many of us have made a lot of money before in the past, we're friends, we're close. When I rolled it out to an eager audience, it was no surprise that it was a straight up vertical thrust. Well, now times that by every other leader who joined the company, a straight up vertical thrust. And before too long, our one participating community bank that only had about 3,500 accounts before we came along, suddenly 38,000 accounts had been presented to them, and it completely dwarfed the system. It was something that they didn't bargain for, they didn't anticipate, they didn't know was coming, and it resulted in the other companies utilizing that same intermediary, Solid, being very, very, very disenchanted with the disruption in customer service and so on. And so Solid said, this business is not for us. It's costing us business with our other customers. I understand Solid's position. I also now understand what the error was on our company's part. On our company's part, we should have made absolutely sure that we had multiple bank system redundancy, and we should have known in advance that these small community banks could not begin any one of them or any 5 of them to onboard 50,000, 75,000, 100,000 accounts in a short period of time, or in fact in a year or two. That is just not the reality. Anthony, for this to really scale the way we need to scale, we're going to have 25 or 30 banks, not 1 or 2 or 3. We're going to have a lot of banks. And And the good news for all of you folks is this, because I need to know the truth, and I need to know it from my own interactions, not from what somebody else tells me. I've been personally involved in conversations with many banks since November to try to understand what is going on. I've had multiple conversations and Zooms with Peter Rancy with great financial institutions, and I can tell you today that I have absolute total confidence. Even if the company themselves did not find the necessary partner banks to make this a tremendous success, I'm not completely convinced that I couldn't, that you could. It simply takes the phone calls. And so since I now know that, now I know the company can also do it. I'm not concerned about it. I do now believe that the company direction might have to be modified a little bit in the future. The company's current stated objective is to have only direct relationships with banks. And so right now we have a relationship with a bank called Vanguard Savings Bank. That relationship is an intermediary relationship where there's a company like Solid that is the intermediary. Why then, you ask, don't we open accounts? Because Vanguard Savings Bank cannot handle 30 or 40 or 50,000 accounts. And so we could open a few, and then that would leave every...
Okay. Because they can't handle opening 50,000, 30,000 accounts. But what if they had started it, again, like he said, doing it the right way, but instead, like by getting, starting with 12 and knowing that that list is growing, and so that way they could handle that amount rather than just like starting the whole company with lies and just lying to people, which is causing it to grow super quick, which, makes them money. Obviously, they want it to grow as fast as possible, but then for it to grow that fast and it still hasn't like officially launched, I can't wrap my mind around it, and I still just do not understand why anybody's doing this. I'm not trying not to repeat myself here a million times, but it's like just everything he's saying just has me asking the same questions,
The person in our company calling every day saying, when is it my turn? When is it my turn? When is it my turn? The reality is, Anthony, we need to have no fewer than 6 banks in order for us to effectively onboard our entire membership. I'd be much more comfortable if we had 10. I'd be more comfortable still if we had 25. And so I am perfectly satisfied myself with allowing the time required to get the other banks that are needed under contract so that we can have a smooth operation, because we have found a way to fill the blanks utilizing the Evermore program between now and then. I'm going to come back around and tell you the importance of the Tranzact card itself. I'm not going to disclose proposed timelines because that would be a mistake. I believe that the smartest thing we can do by far is to focus on that which we have today, because what we have today is superior to the offering that I said yes to on June 15th. That is the truth. What we have today is superior to the offering that I said yes to on June 15th in every respect. Therefore, to be fussing about what we don't have, that was something that was described as an add-on or an addition.
How is this better than what you were proposed to on June 15th when literally nothing you've been proposed over 6 months ago has come to fruition? So how is that better? Because now it's just more empty promises. Especially when he is like, we can't put a timeline on it. We can't do this, that, and the other thing. Like, it's not, the math's not mathing, bro. It's not making sense to me.
Two, after I already joined. I already made my decision to join and to build this as big as I could when there was, for example, no community bonus. I made my decision to join based on something that is not as good as what we have today. Therefore, if that was the right decision back on June 15th, that for me is also the right decision today. When the company does have widespread distribution of the card, then that will cause dramatic escalation. That will be like jumping on a trampoline. If Anthony, at the time that we introduced the Tranzact cards themselves, if you have 1,000 people in your group who are up until then using the Evermore program and accessing all the rest of the parts of the compensation plan, when we introduce the Tranzact card, that'll be like when you've got 2 kids jumping on the trampoline, and you know what it's like when they bounce together, the one goes super high. When the Tranzact card comes along, that's that added bounce. That's the added bounce. That's what it will be. But if you're not already on the trampoline and you're not already jumping, then when the Tranzact comes along, is that going to cause your bounce to go higher? No, it is not. That's the easiest illustration. I want to be bouncing as high as I can possibly bounce with the offering that we have, so that when the complete offering is available, and it will be, that at that point in time, it causes the propulsion to go straight up. There will be many who experience that. Okay. So going back over here, the blocks that I wanted to fill in tonight, this one, the value proposition.
I just don't understand the trampoline analogy, but okay.
That I said yes to first. That will be met in its entirety plus by June 15th. God, why are my dates about? June 15th is by February 15th, excuse me. This down here, having value to our Z-Bucks. For those people whose attitudes and demeanors are like mine, and I know that's a relatively smaller segment of society. In fact, it's a really small segment of society. We're going to be happy by the 15th. I myself, I would be okay with what will be in the Z store from February 15th on. That would be more than enough to satisfy my own particular need in the Z Club. For other people, it's going to take what's there by March 15th. For other people, it's going to take what's there by June 15th and beyond. I'm perfectly satisfied with these two. I'm perfectly satisfied. And now this one again is a few days away. Up here, I've gone as far as I can possibly go without violating my non-disclosure agreement to tell you that the value proposition we had of becoming a DBO, having a mechanism whereby we get a very short-term return of capital. And that, of course, leads to a great deal of enthusiasm to make the next phone call. I cannot disclose details at all, but I can tell you that value proposition will be not restored, not the same thing as this, something different, but something I promise you is better. And everyone will think it's better. There's not one person who will say, wow, I would rather have had this than what will become available for us on the first day of February. And that's not something I think, that is something that I know. Okay, so what was the next value proposition? The next value proposition was this one. Remember, when I saw the company, this value proposition did not exist. In fact, let me just take that back away. I'm not going to talk about what did not exist when I enrolled. I'll talk about what did exist so you understand how our current offering meets what I said yes to in those first days. And then I'll come back around and show you what does not exist yet and what will need to happen for that to exist. Okay, then the next thing that I was bargained for was the idea that we could receive these manager grants. And we know that how does a manager grant work? If this is Randy, then as a result of this part of the value proposition, if I became a digital branch office and I enrolled 3 people, then we know that I would have that rebate, which would create a return of capital. I've told you that there is something that is not just as good as, but better than that, being introduced very soon. And I mean, quite a bit better. Then my next task was to do what? It was to go help those people that I had enrolled do the same thing so that they could get their rebate. And that was the mechanism that set in motion what I've come to describe as a rapid flow of new member applications. So Anthony gets involved in the business, he gets his rebate, he calls his friend and he says, I got involved, it took me this many days, I got my money back, let's do this together. That was a pretty big deal. In terms of what it took to set the machine in motion and cause that rapid flow of new member applications, this mechanism was really important. Once again, I'm not going to go into detail except to tell you that something better than what used to be, substantially better, is there. Now what happened? Every time this person would go to work to get their rebate, that would then trigger for us, for me or for you, a $50 bonus. So that $50 bonus was called what? That was called the, oh God, what do we call that? That is the manager grant. Okay, so that manager grant, that has always been in place since the time that we got involved in the company. That's always been in place. And it still is in place. You say, wait a minute, Randy, I've not been receiving my checks. Why have I not been receiving my checks? Oh, I want you all to know and understand that it is this company's objective to be here decades from now, like a long time from now. It's our objective to be here decades from now. Remember that when I enrolled on June 15th, about 6 days later, I received a Tranzact card and I began swiping that card. In the month of June, total Tranzact card charges, business being transacted on that card, was just about $50,000, 48,000 something. By September, that had become 10 million. Well, it turns out, and I have to be looking at Anthony's face here, so I keep saying his name. So it turns out, Anthony, that the way that it works is all card swiping is by definition customer volume, right? That's a person using the service as a customer. Even though they're not buying something from us, they're using our service as a customer. Because we had $10 million in customer volume going on, then there's no problem paying whatever commissions were earned on these manager grants because we had customer volume. When we stop swiping the cards and there is no customer volume, then Anthony, what was the one only source of revenue for our company if there's no card swiping? One source of revenue only is what? New registrations, correct? That's the one source of revenue.
What does that sound like? It's just like, just reiterate it. Like, isn't it, is that a pyramid scheme? And yeah, the one source of income, okay, so, which is clearly going into nothing because they're not giving these Tranzact cards to anybody. There is no product that's like in production. There's not even, like, they're not even making a card, whatever that would cost, a couple bucks. Like, so why not give me $50 of that? Was it you have to recruit 3 people and it's about like $500, $495 each. So let's just say 500, make the math easy in my head. So $1,500 is when you're supposed to get that $50. So to me, there's like no excuse as to why they aren't giving people these checks. But it's like the Ponzi scheme that didn't get paid out. Like, that's so terrible. Like, and he's admitting it. I mean, like, this is my opinion based on what he's saying. Like, yeah, based on what he's saying, that is definitely like the definition of like a Ponzi scheme, right? Yeah, it is.
Our company cannot pay commissions on enrollments and stay inside the rules of the Federal Trade Commission. And so it was acceptable when the last 5 days of September, we didn't have a card because it was the belief, oh my gosh, it's coming in a few days. And then a month went by, it's coming in a few days. Well, too many days went by and prudence said we should not be.
He even admits that they're not following the rules of the FTC.
Paying commissions when we don't have card swipe revenue, we don't have customer volume. And so in fact, if we're mailing checks out, we're mailing checks based on enrollment volume, and that would lead our company ultimately to trouble. And so the company completely correctly said, yes, you can still earn those rebates or those customer grants, those manager grants, but they'll stay in your back office. We won't let you receive them until we start generating volume again, until we start generating.
Oh, that's how they're getting away with it, by not giving the money. But I don't know, I feel like that's even worse because it's just, I don't know, to me that's worse because then what's the point of doing any of it? And also, like, what is convincing people then to join? Like, how are you making this team when there's nothing to even offer? Like, excuse me, I don't know, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I see where they're trying to be like FTC compliant by that and trying to roll back what they've already kind of like set up. But wouldn't the smart thing be to like just not launch and be like, this is all on hold until we figure it all out? But that's not what they've been doing. They've just been like dangling 500 Z-Bucks in front of everybody's faces to get them to stay every month until allegedly tomorrow when people will actually be able to get the cards again. So we'll see.
Customer volume again. Now, because we know that a lot of people have financial pressure. They need to receive the money right now. We turned it back on in a limited fashion to be mailing those checks, but we could only mail out the checks consistent with the amount of volume being done in the Z Club. But that's the truth. If we're sending out checks that cannot be balanced by customer volume, then we could be subject to scrutiny down the road. On February 1st, guess what happens? February 1st, the Evermore program goes into place. February 1st, every single card swipe becomes customer volume, and so suddenly the manager grants can start being paid again, just like that. And so on February 1st, the next value proposition becomes a reality. February 1st, these manager grants go into full speed again, 100% full speed. And by the way, any of you who have completed your KYC, that means you've already submitted to the company what they need to have in terms of 1099 so they can mail a commission check. If you click mail you your check and it shows up in the back office as not mailed, that means the company does not have your 1099. You need to fill out a 1099, and you can simply contact customer service. They will text you immediately a form. You can fill it out. They'll mail the check that day. Or you can complete KYC if your turn has come up in the rotation. If your turn has come up, as soon as you click KYC, if you click send the check, they will send it. Okay. So this goes back into play in a widespread fashion for anybody, for everybody. This becomes an automated function again, February 1st. So this value proposition 100% in, why do I keep saying, yeah, February 1st. This value proposition goes into play February 1st. This value proposition goes into play February 15th and scales in a greater fashion March and so on. This value proposition, which I've explained as best I can, goes into place on February 1st. This value proposition goes into place 100% on February 1st. Now, what we have today, I've just described the things we have today. That is more than I had available to me when I said yes. That is not less. It is more than I had available to me when I said yes. Why? Because while not yet disclosed, this value proposition is better than I said yes to. This is the very same. This didn't exist yet. And this is better. Why? Because this is better. And so I can tell you with complete, absolute, total candor, and not a sales message, but a dead blind reality message, that our value proposition today as we speak, February 1st, our value proposition is superior to the value proposition that I said yes to on June 15th. Okay? Now, what was the...
Sure, it could be a value proposition that's better, but it's still like a proposition. It's only like, we hope we can make this happen for you. Like, that's... Oh, you guys, do you like my Pikachu Band-Aid? I burned myself with the hot glue gun yesterday. Anyways, but yeah, isn't it just like, so it's a proposition. It's not even like a promise. I don't know. It just seems weird.
The next thing was a mistake. The next thing was a mistake when a company representative came to my home, and I know it's at other places, but a company rep came to my home and made a statement that wound up being not something that we could fulfill. He described the community bonus. Now, don't all be afraid. Something that we can't fulfill right now. Yesterday, in the session that I did with Malin, Malin being the new chairperson, what did Malin say? She said, yes, we remain committed to that process. We remain committed to the community bonus. Here is the reality. Let's contemplate and consider what we said would fund the community bonus. Those of you who've been listening to me teach for the last 5 or 6 months, you've heard me say this community bonus would be funded in what ways? First, $150 from each of these $495 registrations. Then you heard me say a couple of moments ago that our attorney brought to our awareness that paying commissions on registrations is highly problematic. The truth is we could probably get away with it, but we don't want to get away with something that might get us into some kind of trouble. And so even though we'll begin reactivating here, we don't want to pay commissions in a way that would cause us to fail scrutiny if scrutiny ever came. I want to be very specific here. We have not received scrutiny. We're not on anyone's radar screen. We're not responding because somebody said you need to do something different. It was our in-house counsel who said, we'd like you to be more risk averse. If you want this company to be here 20 years from now, then don't cut any corners right now for the sake of expediency. And even though I'm the most energetic entrepreneurial person you're going to run into, I completely, absolutely agree with that idea. And so this community bonus pool cannot be funded with a percentage of enrollments. What else funds the bonus pool? 1% of all new ZBuck accumulation. Okay. Well, what is the ZBuck accumulation we've had until clear since September? The ZBuck accumulation we've had until now has...
Okay, right. So you still get that bonus from those recruits. Like if you have 3 people underneath you, it's just that their loophole, I suppose, as to being FTC compliant is to say, well, we're not going to pay you until we have that revenue from customers. So, and then it would come out of that pool of money. And so that's like their loophole, but it's like, why even promise a commission from those recruits if they're not going to get it from that pool of money? Like, I mean, obviously, because it would be like a pyramid scheme if they did it that way, but I feel like it's still really pyramid schemey. They're just saying, well, the money's not coming until we have customer revenue. So it's like they're really trying to use this as just like a ridiculous loophole, but knowing that you will still get that commission every time you recruit somebody. Like, how about just not having a bonus at all for recruiting people? Like, that would be less pyramid schemey than what you're doing, no matter where the money comes from. The fact is that people get a bonus when they recruit somebody. Whenever they get that bonus is, I feel like, irrelevant. They still are getting that bonus by recruiting people. So
then freely given, right? Every week, ZBucks were added to your account.
That's just my opinion anyway. Let me be clear.
but that was not happening because the card was being swiped. No interchange fees were being created. And so, Anthony, even though 500 Z-Bucks have been being added to your account and to other people's accounts over this period of time when we haven't had the card, that's not been creating interchange fees. Interchange fees happen when that card is swiped. When the card is swiped, and that then creates for you a Z-Buck. And so the way for this to be correctly termed is not 1% of every Z-Buck generation, but it should be instead 1% of all card swipe revenue, because that is what triggers those interchange fees, which fund the community bonus. And so this community bonus cannot be funded by the free giving of those 500 Z-Bucks per account. So that money's not there. Then the next thing that funded it is what? 2.75% of all Z Club redemptions. Okay, so that is the one part that can be funded today. Well, 2.75% of our current level of Z Club redemptions, I mean, Anthony, it doesn't amount to enough money to make any difference. I mean, that's the truth. It doesn't amount to enough money. It's just nothing there. And so what we need to do with this particular part, and by the way, what happened was this.
He said it so I don't have to.
And again, I find fault with no one ever except me. I started out with this idea. I have a pretty nice income from another company that I'm a part of, and I receive an income that is larger from that company than most of you are hoping to make here. It pays the bills. And so my original bargain, Anthony, what I originally bargained for was not, can I make a lot of money this month, or can I make a lot of money in the first 6 months? What I originally bargained for was the day when I've got a million people out there swiping the card, and where I'm not getting paid because they're buying something from me, but I'm getting paid because they're buying what they want to buy, where they want to buy it, and I'm earning those basis points. Okay, that's what I bargained for. And because we knew it would take some period of time for that to be accumulated, then I was looking here, and at the next income component, we'll shortly describe, I was looking here and here for my primary income generation over the course of the first year, 2 years, or even 3 years. Then one of the founders stood in my home and introduced this idea. And suddenly it stopped being these two income components, which will take a while to build and to scale. And it became instead, do you mean to tell me that if I go out and get 39 people in my business, that'll make me a vice president? With 39 accounts, I can make 12.5 a month because I'm getting this by the bonus pool. And so the whole message went from a gradual build that is going to be a residual income stream based upon a huge number of people swiping a card and producing income as a result of those card swipes. That turned into a money grab. Let's race out and find 39 people. In some cases, let's just spend the money and buy them in. So now 39 accounts, we spend $18,000, and that would conceptually get us $150,000 a year out of the bonus pool. Well, fairly clearly, Anthony, you can't have somebody spend $18,000 and take $150,000 out month after year after year after year and have that work, right? That pretty clearly cannot work, right? Now, because that cannot work, I will tell you that there will need to be some modifications to the way the bonus pool itself is administered once the card swipes begin happening again. There will be some modification to it. Now, I'm not going to go into any detail here. I can tell you some of these decisions are being made as we speak. But Anthony, let me just ask you a question. Let's say that you have 39 people in your business and you're a vice president, and you have someone down line of you who has 1,000 people in their business, and that person is a vice president. Is there any logic that says that the person who has 39 accounts should get paid the same as the person who has 1,000 out of that bonus pool? That does not make any sense, does it? And so what I can pretty much tell you is that there will be a threshold entry at this vice president level, and that there will be a sliding scale.
I know we're not done yet, but can we just take a minute to just admire his drawings that really don't make any sense? I know he's trying to like paint a picture so that way you get it, but the 39 in that bottom corner looks more like a 77 to me, and there's a banana on top. He's trying. It's fine. What is he using? Paint? Is that even on computers anymore? Paint? Like what is, or is this like draw up or markup or whatever? I don't know. Very sophisticated software, obviously, for this presentation.
It reaches some number where everybody then reaches the same amount after that. But we simply have to do that to make sense. I mean, there is no sense. One guy's got 39 accounts, one guy's got 4,000 accounts. They're both getting the same out of the bonus pool. That doesn't make sense. And so I can tell you that it will remain extraordinarily lucrative, that the company is not reducing the amount of money that's going into the pool. It's recognized that it needs to replace this piece of income because that can't go into the pool. It needs to be replaced. There's strategies behind that. Melinda yesterday reasserted her commitment to the pool. But I would like the dialogue and the conversation to go back to where I started. The dialogue and conversation is our real money. Where did it start, Anthony? It started with, we want countless, untold millions of people swiping this card, and we're going to earn a few pennies as a result of every card swipe. That turned into a countless, widespread foundation of millions of people having a little less financial pressure to, let's go find 39 people who want to buy their way into this thing and make 150 grand. And so a complete, total, absolute shift. Now, I own that. Once the bonus pool was introduced, I delivered it because I know a lot of people who need to make money right now. And so I called people who need to make money, and I said, I found a mechanism for you. Right? Now I have realized that that mechanism, while still realistic, is not realistic today. When does it become realistic? When the Tranzact cards go into widespread circulation. Understand this. We will get on February 1st the opportunity.
Even when it is realistic, that's like pennies. And the more you recruit people like to be DBOs, the smaller that pool is going to get where you make those pennies that are being pulled into this big account. So the more people that end up joining, the less and less money everybody is going to get. So again, why would you keep recruiting people?
Opportunity to register in the program that's called Evermore. When we register in the Evermore program, we'll start swiping the card. But Anthony, when we swipe the card in Evermore, that does not get us interchange fees, right? That's not what it's doing. What that's doing is it's creating volume so that we can pay this. It's creating volume so that we can pay this. There's something else coming over here. But what it's not doing is creating the interchange fees that would make the community bonus available to us. And so until such time as the Tranzact debit cards go into place, this cannot be funded. Now, I don't know the date when they'll be in place. I can tell you that today we have a contract with Bangor Savings Bank, and that contract is an intermediary contract. We also have a contract with the second bank that is a direct relationship. The company's not disclosed the name of that bank, and I completely support their decision not to disclose it because we don't want them to get 10,000 phone calls saying, "Are you involved in Transact card?" We want to introduce the banks when there are enough.
They've caught on to us quite quickly. Was it quickly? I don't know. I guess if they've been together for well over 6 months, then it wasn't very quickly before they caught on to people like us making those phone calls and trying to talk out of the whatever. I don't know. You get what I'm trying to say. That's kind of funny.
Of them that we can introduce it in a widespread way so that can be the extra bounce on the trampoline to cause it to go straight up. And between now and then, we want to create mechanisms that allow you in the comp plan components that are available to you here and here and here and here to replace the income that you may have received here. Okay, I am critically aware of the Dr. Martin Luther King years ago in a speech. He talked about the fierce urgency of now. And he was, of course, in that dialogue talking about the need to make changes in the United States civil rights situation. When I talk about the fierce urgency of now, I am very aware that many of you have bills that are not paid. I also know that there are some of you who are affluent, negotiated for the long-term play, and the millions of people swiping the card. I know that. For you, the value proposition is today exactly what it always was. For those who have outstanding bills that need to get paid, I understand the fierce urgency of now. And I promise you, so does the company, because I have drilled it into their heads. The next comp plan component that I bargained for was what? I am not especially intrigued with any comp plan component that only pays you once. And so, Anthony, if we come over here, what is this? In these manager grants, you enroll a person, that person becomes a DVO, and then they become a manager. You get paid that manager grant commission one time, don't you? When they don't get paid that again and again. And so in the last week before the convention, Samantha and I earned $19,500 in these manager grants. If the next week we'd had more people complete this task, that income would have gone up. Well, the next week, fewer people completed this task, and so the income went down. I'm interested in income that only goes up. That goes up, stabilizes, goes up, stabilizes, goes up, stabilizes. I'm not saying I don't want to receive this. I'm saying this is simply a stair-step income. It's not the target. It's not what I'm in it for. Then we come over here. Now is when we get to the residual part of the income. If you look, and by the way, this will also be residual when it can be funded. When can it be funded? When Transact cards are in play, not when we're swiping Evermore cards. Over here, if you look in the comp plan document, you'll see that on an ongoing monthly basis, we can earn between $2.50 and $10, or whatever it says in the comp plan, that we can earn something on an ongoing residual, ongoing basis, month after month after month after month after month. Now, the company has freely disclosed the various things that are less encouraging. Have not done an especially good job at describing some things that are incredibly encouraging. I mean, you folks have heard exactly nothing about this, right? Absolutely nothing. There's some incredibly encouraging things the company hasn't said yet. For their own wisdom and choices and reasons, they're choosing not to say anything about that for 5 more days. The first, and that's fine. It's coming up really soon. And this next component over here, from the date of my first involvement, and Anthony, you and I have had enough conversations. I don't recall specifically if you and I have had.
Maybe because it's kind of like scammy. Just a hunch.
This conversation or not. But from the date of my first involvement, I've been very concerned about the fact that throughout my experience in the direct selling industry, I've always been involved in a company that sells a physical, tangible, consumable product. And so for the last 8 years, involved with a company that offers a non-psychoactive cannabis product, CBD product. And so Anthony, now imagine for a moment that you're not making any money in the business, like no, but that the product is helping you. It's helping you because maybe it helps you sleep, or it's helping you because it reduces inflammation, you don't have as much joint pain, maybe it's reducing anxiety, whatever it is. You're not making any money, but the product helps you. Well, then it's not a crazy thing to keep buying it, even if you're not making money, right? But now we get to this company. We don't have a physical, tangible product. And so what has been described as the way to fund this comp plan component was what? The ongoing monthly maintenance, which has been described as what? A technology fee or a marketing fee. Right? You can call it technology, you can call it marketing. That's another way of saying you're paying $50 a month for air because there isn't something showing up in your mailbox that you can use, right? And so what if you became a DBO, but you're not yet making any money? Then that means your actual result is the exact same as if you were a TCM, except if you're a DBO.
But wait, wasn't the whole like bonus like if you sign up earlier is because you didn't have to pay those fees for like a year or for life or whatever? So then again, that's like, where's that money coming from if they're not charging people for this pre-launch thing, whatever? Like they're not charging that $50 yet for that technology fee. So like then where's the money coming from that? Yeah, I don't know.
Got a $50 a month maintenance fee. Well, so my exact reality has been that we have to create strategies that cause literally everyone to become a manager in their first 90 days, because if they don't, they're going to click off maintenance. And then this does not truly become a permanent source of income. And so once again, like up here, where I said the company has done some incredibly good things, they just haven't said them. They've done something incredibly good here, and they haven't said it. And I unfortunately can't say anything about it right now, except to say, kind of, I'll parrot back what I said again last night, because Melinda was on with me. Therefore, she's already heard me say it, and she didn't tell me afterwards that I was wrong to do it. I can say that the company will introduce a market basket of valuable services. When you pay that $50 maintenance, you will receive the market basket of valuable services. And Anthony, most people are going to find that the $50 they pay for those services, they're already spending somewhere in their budget. So that $50, instead of being another budget item to pay the marketing and technology fee, will be a transfer of spending inside their budget. They're already spending the $50. But now they'll spend the $50 to get the market basket of goods from our company, the market basket of services, and that will then make them active. That will meet the maintenance requirement. So instead of paying $50 for marketing technology or air, spending $50 for a market basket of goods that you will use on a monthly basis that you're already using, and that then qualifies you in the comp plan. It's not a little bit better, it's incredibly better. And so with that introduction, you see, that is what funds this part, because no maintenance has been charged up until now. And by the way, the company kind of tipped their hat a few days ago, because what they say, they sent out an email that said the $50 maintenance is not going to be charged, right? That's what they said. Well, a critical thinker might have said, well, if the maintenance is not being charged, then that means this income component can't be paid. People got all excited about the maintenance not being charged. They didn't stop and think, well, wait a minute, that means that one of the most important comp plan components can't be paid. But in fact, it can, because of the program that we introduced on February 1st. Now, again, I can't go any further without getting myself into trouble. But there are two incredibly.
So it's going to get paid, but I can't tell you how. What? Okay.
Incredibly important, dramatically exciting things, which make our current offering not just equal to, but substantially better than the offering that I said yes to on June 15th of last year. That is this one, and it is the way that we fund this. This then starts spitting out income in the February commission month. This starts spitting out income the very first week of February. If one forgets what we do not have and focuses on what we do have here and here and here, I promise you that combination of things can create a greater income for you than had you qualified at the various ranks in the community bonus pool. And when the community bonus pool does come along, that will simply be adding bounce to everything else that is in the comp plan. Now, I want to specifically reiterate this thought. We must have the Tranzact card itself in play. Why? Because the Tranzact card itself is what creates the interchange fees. The interchange fees are what float the boat down here. And if you go back to why am I in this business? And of course, this call is about you, not about me, but why am I in this business? I am not in this business because of this. I'm not in this business because of this. I'm not in this business because of this. I am in this business because in my life, Anthony, the biggest organization I've built had 68,000 people with their credit card on file receiving a product month after month after month after month. And that was 68,000 people in a market that was a cholesterol reduction market, basically a $40 billion annual sales market. And that's 68,000 people on SmartShip. That was the penetration that I had in a $4 billion annual market that produced for me steadily and consistently $3 million in annual income. Now, instead of having a market where I could potentially appeal to 68,000 people who are in a $40 billion market. Now, Anthony, we're talking about a market that is $2 trillion transacted on a debit card every single year in the United States. And correctly so, our company is focused on its strengths. What is the strength? $2 trillion in debit cards. Our company is issuing debit cards. Do yourself a quick Google search and you will find out that 61% of people in America currently carry credit card debt. Those 61% of people don't have money on a debit card that they can use to buy things. They are paying their minimum balance or whatever they can pay, and they're using a credit card.
So if I have to put this onto my account, because it has to be on a debit card, you have to transfer money onto it, right? That's what they've been saying this whole time. Or you have to connect it to a bank account, right? One or the other through that whatever program you were talking about. So if I can't connect it to a credit card and I don't have money, how am I going to even get these Z-Bucks? Like, it kind of becomes very limited in that sense as well. That if you are struggling that much and you don't have money in your bank account to transfer to this or whatever, because it's all going to rent and it already comes out of that, like, then you do become very limited to how you can even earn these Z-Bucks with this debit card, because you have to transfer cash into that account. So based on what he's saying, it seems like even a lot of Americans might not even be able to make this successful for them, because these Z-Bucks won't actually be productive enough, or they won't want to continue using it over these next few months before this entire thing is even like worth it. Because he's saying it's not going to be worth it until later down the road. And that's still even not a guaranteed promise. So I don't know, just doesn't sit well with me.
And so now, Anthony, we have access to all of those people who could use a debit card. They can also use a credit card. And all those people who don't have cash, but who are floating, who are currently just keeping the balls in the air on credit card debt, we have access to help those people. And over the course of, and by the way, it's inevitable. I know exactly this will work. I'll tell you over and over and over again. I'm not going to tell you when the debit cards are coming out. I'm not telling you.
Oh, did I speak too soon? How is he helping those people? Maybe he'll tell us.
The debit card's coming out. I'm not telling you when the debit card's coming out. And I'll get 10 messages after this. Hey, Randy, what day the debit card's coming out? That's the way it works. I know. I love you all, because I would be one of those guys probably saying,
he just said they were coming out February 1st. What is he talking about? And now he doesn't know? What is happening?
the same thing. This is the way that I answer it. What I can tell you is the debit cards are coming out. period. And I'm telling you that I would really appreciate it if you don't ask me when, anytime between now and 6 months. And between now and then, you'll already have it. Okay, that is the truth. And there's nothing I can do to accelerate it. I want us to be focused on what makes us money now. And I do not want us to be focused on what cannot make us money now. I don't see any logic to that whatsoever. Okay, I'm going to glance quickly at the chat screen and see what the questions are here. We don't have sound, log it in. If the Evermore program is a standalone program, the Evermore program is linked to the Tranzact card account. The next one, overview's already shown that include the $50 fee.
Okay, there's about like 5 minutes left, but I really wanted to zoom in on this picture so you guys could see this beautiful masterpiece. Look at what he's drawn. He's explained everything to us quite beautifully. And now we understand everything, right? Totally get it.
That is fine. Yeah, the $50 fee has already been canceled, and it doesn't, and it nobody's going to have the $50 fee because of the program being introduced. Okay, so again, none of us need to worry about the $50 technology and maintenance fee that is being replaced with something different. To be determined announced after February 1st. How to answer the question, prospects are currently watching these corporate reviews. The fees are gone. I mean, the question is, Daniel says, he specifically said that the fees are gone. The fees are gone. I said the same thing. That ongoing fee is not there. It is being replaced with a market basket of goods. Once again, it says here, nothing clear. It said, yeah, I want to be as clear as I possibly can. The fact is that $50 marketing and technology fee will not be there. It will be replaced with a market basket of goods. That is that same amount of money. It will feel, I'm hoping that it feels to most people like there is no cost, because why? Because they're already spending that $50 on something else. And so very specifically, that should not be confusing. Are DBOs still going to be franchises? I can't speak to that. I'm not going to. That remains in the attorney's hands, and I don't know. Will there be new videos to share? There is nothing about what's going on right now that will make me change any of my marketing content. I mean, the materials, I just created an entire and Carol says, so Carol, what would happen? She asks, is the market basket of goods you can choose from, will that be an option to choose or not? Yes, you don't have to. If you don't, I mean, what will happen, Carol, is if you don't, then there will not be something that activates this comp plan component. And so no, you don't have to buy the market basket of goods. If you don't buy the market basket of goods, it is that market basket of goods that makes you eligible to receive this income component. The very same as where you're not paying the $50 technology fee, you would not be eligible for that income component. And so for one who does not want to have this piece of the income, sure enough, that remains completely an option. You don't have to do it. I don't believe that anybody would, if anybody understands that, I'm not imagining people opting out, because once again, this is meant to be a transfer of buying. If you're already spending the $50, Anthony, and now instead you're canceling the various service payments and you're receiving this instead, then it's not really a problem. Is the EM part of the market basket? I don't have a clue what EM is. I'm sorry. That's probably an illustration that I've used. I have no clue what EM is, so I can't answer that.
I'm still not understanding what like the market basket of goods instead of the $50 is. Like he's not explaining it. Like he's like, oh, you're already going to use that $50, but I don't. Am I stupid? I don't know. Sometimes I am, yes. But it just is so much confusion here, and it just doesn't make sense to me.
And I think that probably is about as far as I can go tonight. So folks,
Evermore.
I'm sorry?
Evermore.
Oh, Evermore. No. Evermore, totally different thing. Evermore, I can't go any further. This over here is what funds this. Evermore is what funds this. Every dollar of revenue that comes into our compensation plan has a portion of that revenue attributed to fund a comp plan component. And they're all separate. That's important, by the way, from the guidelines of the FTC and so on, as I talked about being risk averse and staying inside. So no, the Evermore program is not tied to what we're doing over here. The Evermore program is tied to the generation of these commissions. Now, if I have confused anybody, please accept my apologies. What I've tried to do is create clarity in a situation where I acknowledge that there has been a lack of clarity. Perhaps the most important thing that I want you all to know is that I am 100% in. 100% in. The current offering is superior to the offering that I said yes to. If the current offering is not the offering that you said yes to, and is not something that you think is as attractive as what you said yes to, then my suggestion to you is that you stand by. Don't do something that doesn't feel great to you. If you share my enthusiasm for the current offering, do it with energy. If you don't, then wait until the card is introduced and then do it with energy. But don't do anything in a half-hearted way. Understand it, love it, and if you love it, act on it. And if you don't love it, wait until the company introduces that which you do act on. Okay? That is my guidance. That's my best suggestions and wishes for you all. Tuesday night, I'll do a business presentation at my home. I will live stream that. This is the last iteration of this conversation. I now switch gears completely to building the business. I'm all done talking about what we don't have, and I start effective now talking about what we do have. And the absolute greatest expression of leadership that any of you can have is to go out and ring the bell financially. Proof of income is the lubrication that greases the wheels of all productivity in our business. And it will only take a few people providing a little bit of proof, a few people creating a little bit of evidence that the current offering is in fact superior to the offering that we said yes 2 months ago. And this will start getting fun again pretty soon. So folks, accept my apologies for anything I've said along the way that wound up not being 100% accurate. It was never my intention. My sincere and humble apologies for that. And I promise you I've learned my lessons, and I will not repeat something that I don't dig deeply enough into to know what the facts are. So that being said, everybody, God bless you all. Have a wonderful evening. Keep me posted as to how I can best help, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Randy.
So that's it. Those are like the updates and, you know, everything he said. So maybe by next month I'll have the cards, or this month, I guess, by the time this video is posted. Maybe the Z Club will get better. Maybe it won't. Maybe it'll take another 6 months. Maybe we don't know. Maybe there will be more banks involved. Maybe there won't be. There's just so many maybes. And then still the enthusiastically will go ahead and join with me, even though you're not going to see any money for a while. I don't know. I can't believe people are still falling for this. You guys, if you're in this, please get out. Somebody send him this video. Send him Cece Suarez's videos. Send him one of Julie Anderson's videos. She is going hard on this right now. And I love it. I think we need to keep people out of this. And let's not get scammed, y'all. Let's make sure our friends don't get scammed. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend or week or whatever. And I will see you guys on the next one. Like and subscribe, share with your friends. Thank you for watching. Cheers. I'll see you later.